Brief history of the English language. The invasion of the Scandinavian tribes, the Jutes, the Saxons, the Angles, and the Celts from northern Germany and Denmark, is the beginning of the history of the English language. Each of these tribes had their own language as a form of oral communication. All those languages were very inflected in case, gender, person, and tense. All their languages had the influence of Latin, German, Russian, Greek, French, and some other Indo-European languages. When their need for survival increased, the need for a common media of communication also increased. They helped each other by trading goods, helped each other against hunger and in the struggle for leadership against other tribes. By the year 400 AD, they had already developed a single language with the inflections of the former languages. The first stage of the English language is now called Old English. It was spoken from the year 400 AD to the year 1100 AD. Old English was a very inflected language. The Norman conquest took place in the year 1066 AD by William the Conqueror, who became the King of England, and consequently his family ruled England from the year 1100 AD to the year 1450 AD. This event brought the French language to England and enriched Old English with more vocabulary and inflections. French was the official language of England during this period of time. For 350 years, the commons spoke Old English, while the royalty spoke French. All official matters and all the bureaucracy were in French. The usage of Old English was completely arbitrary because there was not an official body to rule the language. Old English was consistently transformed by the users because they used it mainly as a form of oral communication. The inflections in case, gender, person, and tense little by little were no longer used and made Old English an easier language to understand. Those structural changes are, linguistically speaking, very important to be mentioned because they developed a second stage in the history of the language. This stage is named Middle English. English was again declared the official language of England in the year 1450 AD. Many inflections had been dropped during the 350 years when French was the official language and English was the language spoken by the commons. The Dark Ages were over. The 15th century was the Renaissance. The common people were permitted to learn how to read and write. The arts were freely sponsored. The reform gave the people freedom of religion. The dawn of the 16th century was the beginning of the third stage of English. The printing press was invented, and books were no longer made by hand. In 1525 AD, William Tyndale published the first printed translation of the New Testament. The following 90 years were the golden age of English, culminating in the famous plays of William Shakespeare. In the year 1611 AD, King James published his version of the Bible. The third stage of English is called Modern English. The meaning of words was standardized by the publication of the first dictionary written by Samuel Johnson in 1755 AD. The grammar rules were standardized by the publication of the first grammar book written by Lindley Murray in 1795 AD. And the standardization of the spelling of words was made possible by the publication of the first spelling book by Lindley Murray in 1804 AD. Modern English is a standardized language, and it has been spoken and written almost the same since the year 1800 AD. English is said to be a living language because it is constantly changing. New words are adopted in all the fields of work and education because of innovations, the people, the region, the influence of other languages, the environment, and the occupation of the users. The English language in particular has become very popular and spread all over the world because of the migration of English-speaking people who have brought their culture to other countries as well as their skills and economic power. Many of these newcomers became land and factory owners, and very soon they needed bilingual natives through whom they could communicate with the laborers. This way, the teaching and learning of another language began. The foreigners learned the language of the natives, and the natives learned the language of the foreigners. It is important to understand that this process was not only for English. There were migrants from several other countries and speakers of other languages, and they also had to go through the same experience.